Morale sucks, plain and simple. I just feel so bad for the people I work with, Dan.
No matter what happens, next year is going to be my last year on television.
It's official. One of the most beloved shows on sports television is officially over, and there is absolutely nothing that we can do about it. So you might be wondering, how do we get to a point where a network fumbled this so badly? And the story is very depressing. So before we get to the content, we are on the grind to 1 million subscribers. Make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. And now that we get all that out of the way, do the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? When TNT first obtained the rights to broadcast NBA games all the way back in 1989, fans from all over the world began giving the show, led by Ernie Johnson, their unwavering support. The NBA was about to enter a new day and age. We were at the end of the Magic and Berg era. The bad boy Pistons were dominating the league with their physical play, and a young Dean Smith protege by the name of Michael Jordan was approaching his first of 6 titles on his way to becoming a global sensation, which would expand the scope of basketball forever. These were humble beginnings for everybody's favorite show, which would soon go on to become a staple in the households of basketball lovers all across America. And you can probably imagine how much different it looked and sounded back then, but just for safe measure, look at how soft-spoken Charles Barkley is in one of his first on-air interviews as an analyst while he was still playing in the NBA.
Utah's playing a perfect half of basketball. That does 2 things. Number 1, it stops the crowd from getting into the game, and the Seattle Supersonics play on emotion, and it's keeping their emotion in check.
It's so funny because this is kind of like our equivalent to bringing Draymond Green or Paul George to the NBA Finals broadcast. And I guess with the creation of social media, players are a little bit more comfortable behind a microphone. Back then, you could just tell Charles Barkley is so nervous here. The show would begin picking up steam in 1998 when they would sign Kenny the Jet Smith. Now, this was not too long after winning back-to-back titles with Hakeem Olajuwon and the Houston Rockets as a key role player. Kenny was brought in because he understood what it was like to be in an NBA locker room and was very relatable in that regard. But he was extremely charismatic as well and knew how to work a microphone. 2 years later, following his retirement, Charles Barkley became a member as well, and the team was pretty much born. They would try to figure out who would be an ideal 4th person to join Kenny, Ernie, and Chuck, and would give opportunities to Magic Johnson, Reggie Miller, and Chris Webber until they would finally find the perfect 4th for their trio. Shaq just concluded his memorable stint as a member of the Boston Celtics, and he decided to join TNT in 2011. That's how he got inside the NBA as we know it today. Throughout its time, the NBA on TNT has grown right alongside the NBA itself. As one of the products has grown, so has the other. The show has been one of the main links that has connected us from Jordan to Kobe, from Kobe to LeBron, and now from LeBron to Wemby. But what has separated this show from the rest of sports shows around the world is not simply due to the quality of their sports commentary. Actually, despite it being a table that holds both champions and MVPs, it's actually been their commentary about anything other than sports which has drawn it so much attention. I'm sure at this point we're all huge fans of Charles Barkley's commentary on the women in San Antonio.
I see why these women big in San Antonio. These things are good.
And as a result of this form of commentary, the show got incredibly popular and has almost 24 sports Emmy Awards, 3 more which have come just earlier this year. Over time, we have developed relationships with the show because of the relationships with the guys, the real-life characters on the screen. Whether it's involving the never-tiring battle between Shaq and Chuck, Kenny racing Shaq to the board, or even just Ernie policing the gang like a tired middle school teacher. To be real about it, I'm still kind of waiting on a heist movie with the 4 of them starring as a gang of misfit crooks. But I digress, because despite how popular Inside the NBA is, no matter how much the fans seem to enjoy it, no matter how many awards it's won, all of that is now over. And there's nothing anybody can do about it to save it. So there will be no more opportunities for us to watch Charles Barkley kiss donkeys' asses. Or even worse, and this seriously hurts to say, but kissing Dick Bavetta. For a group that boasts such a strong collection of personalities, I think we can all agree that Sir Charles is the one we'll remember most as an on-air personality. He is funny, funny, and despite popular opinion, is actually more intelligent than many people think. He also has an MVP to boast, which doesn't hurt, and is one of those rare people that can receive jokes with the same humility that he dishes them out with. And though he may not be the most articulate guy ever, Charles Barkley has proven to be a very likable person. If he was not on it, the show simply wouldn't be the same. After all, the man has 4 Sports Emmy Awards for a reason. However, this is where it just goes from sad to even worse. In the face of these forthcoming changes that will be putting an end to the show's legendary run after next season, Charles Barkley broke all of our hearts this past season during the NBA Finals when he said this.
I've talked to all the other networks, but I ain't going nowhere other than TNT. But I have made the decision myself, no matter what happens, next year is going to be my last year on television. And I just want to say thank you to my NBA family. You guys been great to me. My heart is full with joy and gratitude. But I'm going to pass the baton at the end of next year. I hope the NBA stays with TNT. But for me personally, I wanted you guys to hear from me because I'm not doing any more interviews. Don't y'all be calling me. Nobody calling me. I'm not talking about this again, but I want to tell my NBA and NBA TV and TNT family that I'm not going to another network, but I'm going to pass the baton to either Jamal Crawford or Vince Carter or you, Steve. But next year, I'm going to just retire after 25 years, and I just want to say thank you, and I wanted y'all to hear from me first.
This has brought with it a lot of public outcry over the changing of the guard, as fans have begun expressing their frustration over the likely loss of their favorite show. And nobody has been more outspoken about it than Charles Barkley himself, who eviscerated his employers on the Dan Patrick Show.
Morale sucks, plain and simple. I just feel so bad for the people I work with, Dan. These people have families, and I just really feel bad for them right now. These people I work with, they've screwed this thing up clearly, and we don't have zero idea what's going to happen. I don't feel good, I'm not going to lie, especially when they came out yesterday and said we bought college football. I was like, well, damn, they could have used that money to buy the NBA. Wait a minute, shouldn't we be spending every dime we got to keep the NBA? So morale sucks, to be honest with you, Dan.
For a guy whose job of over 2 decades is being canceled, this may not exactly be the best route to go about saving it. Then again, that's part of the reason that we love Chuck so much. He says what he means, and he means what he says. So at this point, you might be wondering, Mike, what exactly is causing TNT to let go of Inside the NBA? Why exactly is Charles Barkley retiring? Well, the NBA plans on keeping NBA programming on ABC and ESPN by the way of their parent company Disney, which will be paying almost $3 billion annually while also giving new rights packages to both NBC and Amazon as well. So the odd man out in this case is, well, none other than TNT. Without getting overly emotional about it, this could prove to be a horrific mistake for TNT. It's no secret at this point that ESPN has a revolving door of personalities, and there are some that criticize ESPN for being, for lack of a better way of saying it, too woke. But the NBA on TNT, on the other hand, has been the exact opposite. You don't typically get a lot of political commentary on Inside the NBA. There's 4 dudes that love basketball, 3 of which that have had extensive experience playing basketball, ripping on each other and laughing about basketball, the way you would do with your buddies at a middle school lunch table. People tune in late at night and lose that extra hour of sleep on work nights because the show gives them a place that they can go to get away from their worries and be entertained by a genuine group of guys that have no desire to conform to the politically correct world of today. Plus, not only does the cast have the type of chemistry that is really, really hard to come by, but they have also been together for over a dozen years and have built a nearly perfect formula, something which ESPN has attempted to replicate, but they never were able to. And that's despite ESPN having Stephen A. Smith, who is one of the most entertaining commentators out there. If this deal doesn't somehow drastically change in the near future, and Ernie and the gang, even if it were sadly without Chuck, won't find a new home, then one would have to expect that the NBA's recent downslide could continue or perhaps get worse. The crazy part is when Adam Silver was asked about this situation, this is what he had to say.
Oh no, we're never going to lose Charles and Kenny. We're all still talking. Who knows how it's going to work out. I can't imagine those guys won't be announcing together in the future.
It's no secret that inside the NBA has one of the most loyal fan bases out there. And who knows, maybe there are enough people disgruntled about this whole situation to make a difference if they were to protest the loss of one of the best sports shows in history in favor of a program that more and more people are becoming seriously discontented with. You can't just get rid of everyone's favorite meal and expect them not to hold it against you. But unless an absolute miracle happens, the grim reality of the situation is that with Barkley's impending retirement, the death of the show is inevitable, seeing that just as recently as a few weeks ago, the NBA actually formalized the written contracts of this whole thing with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon for a combined $7.4 billion annually, and are currently entering the final stages of a deal. It should be noted that part of the $3 billion annual package that ESPN is receiving will include a conference final, weekly primetime clashes, the NBA Finals, and the WNBA. If this doesn't tell you that ESPN's attempts to climb out of the financial straits they have gotten themselves into over the years by diving headfirst into the world of ridiculous hot takes in an attempt to boost ratings hasn't worked, then I don't know what to tell you. But at the end of the day, what can you really expect? This is the 21st century, and consumers are moving to streaming video and cutting out the cable altogether, even though if it means that they're probably paying the same amount or even more for it. The numbers tell a lot of the story. In 2013, ESPN was in a whopping 98.5 million homes. In 2023, just a decade later, they're down to 73 million. That's over 25 million less homes in only 10 years. Not exactly trending in the right direction. This is all to say that despite the desire of millions of people that want to see the TNT crew stick around, there are simply greater forces at play. And if that's not enough for you, to make matters even stranger, there are now serious reports out there. What this would mean for NFL coverage and the media as we know it remains to be seen, but with Disney stronger than ever, it's clear that the NBA on TNT is soon going to be a thing of the past. Then, nobody is safe. It's not an ideal situation by any stretch, but I'm thankful that we'll at least be able to see these guys banter for one more year before it's gone for good.